The sirens cut through the cold evening air, blue lights pulsing over the glass facade of the New Horizon Stadium. Crowds thinned as the game ended, their cheers fading into the metallic hum of the parking lot. Amara Lewis adjusted her blazer and stepped out from the private entrance, the night air biting against her skin. She'd stayed late for the closing inspection, the first night her company's $800 million project had gone live. Her stadium. A sharp voice sliced through the noise. "Ma'am, step back from that gate." The police officer's tone wasn't curious. It was commanding, suspicious. Amara turned, startled. "Excuse me?" "Restricted area, VIP exit. You don't belong here." She froze. Her ID badge glinted beneath the floodlights, but his eyes didn't go there. They stayed on her face, her skin, her silence. "I designed this entrance," she said softly, disbelief cracking her composure. Ma'am, step back." He moved closer, hand grazing his holster. The radio at his shoulder hissed with distant chatter. Bystanders slowed, phones lifted. A lifetime of restraint condensed into one burning second. The humiliation wasn't new, but it was public now, permanent. Amara raised her hands, not in fear but in fury she could not show. "I said step back," he repeated. Then quieter, meaner. "People like you always find a way where you don't belong." Click. Someone's camera flash ignited the moment into history. Amara's voice barely carried. "You just pushed away the owner." The officer blinked, confusion slicing into arrogance as the stadium's LED screen behind him lit up with her name in bright gold. Amara Lewis, CEO, Horizon Development Group. And then the crowd gasped. The sound that woke her wasn't the alarm. It was her phone, vibrating endlessly across the marble nightstand, spilling light into the dark. Amara Lewis blinked into consciousness, the blue glow washing over her face. The notifications were stacked like falling dominoes. Twitter, 537 mentions. LinkedIn, a trending topic. CNN breaking. Police altercation at Horizon Stadium goes viral. She froze. For a moment she didn't understand. Then memory surfaced like a bruise. The floodlights, the officer's voice, the sting of humiliation under 100 watching eyes. She sat up slowly, heart thudding. The city outside was barely waking, but her world was already on fire. Her assistant Jordan was calling. She answered. "What's happening?" "It's everywhere, Amara." His voice was tight, half panicked. "Every platform. Someone posted the video last night. Millions of views. How bad?" He hesitated. "Bad enough that the governor's office is calling it an incident. They're spinning it like you were trespassing." Amara exhaled through her teeth. "I own the stadium." "I know." She stood, pacing across the room, bare feet brushing the edge of the Persian rug. Her reflection caught in the tall mirror. Silk bonnet, rumpled pajamas, a face that had no armor left. "Send me the link," she said. Jordan texted it immediately. She opened it. The clip was 37 seconds long. Someone had edited it for maximum tension. The officer's voice amplified, her composure highlighted in the harsh LED glare. The moment of his shove slowed to half speed. The caption screamed across the screen. "Officer pushes black woman outside VIP gate. Didn't know she was the CEO." The sound of her own voice, calm but trembling, made her flinch. "You just pushed away the owner." Silence followed, broken by the digital roar. Comments flooding like a storm. "This is what power looks like when you still can't be seen. How many times does this happen off camera? Stop making everything about race." Another staged scene for attention. Amara tossed the phone onto the bed and pressed her palms to her face. The humiliation wasn't the point, and it was the repetition, the familiarity. Her mother's voice drifted from memory, calm and unwavering. "They'll let you build the house, baby, but they'll still ask if you live there." The doorbell rang. Jordan was already there when she opened it, suit wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He handed her coffee. "PR team's on Zoom in 10 minutes. They're drafting a response." "I'm not apologizing," she said. "They're not asking for that yet. They just want you quiet." "Quiet?" Her laugh was hollow. "They want me invisible." He didn't answer. They sat at the kitchen counter, screens glowing. Her company's crisis manager, Dana, appeared. Controlled, corporate, voice honeyed with restraint. "Amara, we're advising a pause on all statements. The video is volatile. Investors are watching." "I'm not a scandal," Amara said. I was shoved by a police officer in front of my own stadium. Of course, Dana replied carefully. But we need to protect Horizon's brand equity. Any emotional response could be perceived as divisive. Divisive to who? Dana smiled tightly. To people who don't understand your lived experience. Jordan muted the call before Amara could speak. Don't, he warned softly. They'll use your words against you. Amara stared past the screen to the framed architectural renderings on her wall, the sweeping curves of the stadium, her dream realized in steel and glass. Every inch had been fought for, every contract negotiated twice, every doubt answered with competence. And still, a man with a badge had seen none of it. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her mother. Call me before you go online. Don't let them take your peace, she called immediately. Baby, her mother said, voice low with concern. You breathing? Trying to. I saw the video. You handled yourself right. Don't you carry his shame? Amara sank against the counter, tears threatening. It's not just his. It's the silence afterward. The people watching, doing nothing. That silence is centuries old, her mother said. You just heard it louder this time. Amara wiped her face. They want me to say nothing. And what do you want? A pause, the hum of the refrigerator filled the space. I want truth, she said. Not rage. Not PR, just truth. Her mother's voice softened. Then say it when you're ready. Not before. The call ended. Outside, the city brightened. Sunlight cutting across the skyline, gold on concrete. She could already imagine the day unfolding. The headlines, the split-screen debates, her name trending beside his. By noon, it was worse. The police department released a statement calling it a miscommunication. Officer Mark Delaney was temporarily reassigned pending review. News anchors repeated. The phrase like gospel. Her inbox flooded with two kinds of messages. Outrage from strangers who saw her as a symbol, and polite anxiety from colleagues who saw her as a liability. The board chair called around 2 p.m. Amara, we need to control the narrative. The narrative? She repeated. You mean the truth. We mean the optics. The mayor's office is involved now. They want a joint statement. She could hear the subtext. Don't embarrass the city. Don't make the company political. Don't make us uncomfortable, she answered carefully. If you're asking me to downplay being publicly humiliated for existing in the wrong skin, you're asking me to lie. Silence. Then a measured tone. Think of the investors. She hung up without replying. Evening fell slowly, shadows crawling across the city like memory. Amara stood by the window looking out at the stadium glowing in the distance, her creation, her name buried beneath headlines and hashtags. Jordan re-entered quietly. You're trending #1, I figured. He hesitated. You want me to draft a statement? She shook her head. No, I'm going to write it myself. He looked at her uncertain. You sure? Yes. She turned back to the glass, watching the stadium lights pulse against the night sky. Her own design, flickering like a heartbeat. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady, stripped of emotion. If they want the truth, they'll hear it from me. The phone kept buzzing behind her, relentless, as the world argued over her existence, and the officer who still slept soundly under the shield of procedure. Amara didn't move. She was still watching the city when the first email from the New York Times hit her inbox. Subject line, request for comment on viral police incident. Urgent. She exhaled once, long and slow. Then quietly, let's begin. The press room smelled like fresh paint and artificial calm. Rows of cameras stared down from their tripods, red lights blinking in quiet judgment. The air carried the electric charge of waiting, that particular silence before an apology the world demands but the soul refuses to give. Amara stood at the edge of the stage, her hands clasped behind her back, pulse steady only by force of will. Dana, the crisis manager, hovered near the podium, whispering last-minute reminders like prayers to the god of optics. Remember, Dana said softly, empathy first. Defuse, don't inflame. We're here to show leadership, not anger. Amara didn't answer. In front of the press banner, Horizon Development Group, building the future together. The irony burned. Jordan leaned in. They're ready for you. She stepped to the podium. The flashes began immediately. Dozens of reporters, Dozens of lenses. The hum of microphones feeding into live streams across the country. She looked out at them, faces expectant, hungry, some sympathetic, some waiting to twist her words into something easier to dismiss. "Good afternoon," she began, voice even. "Yesterday evening, during the conclusion of the Horizon Stadium's opening, I experienced an unfortunate altercation with a member of local law enforcement. The incident, as many of you have seen, was deeply upsetting. A rustle of pens, the clicking of keyboards. I want to start," she continued, "by expressing respect for the work of law enforcement officers who serve with integrity. But what happened to me was not integrity. It was assumption, and assumption, when fueled by bias, becomes danger." Dana's face tightened slightly off to the side. She had warned Amara not to use the word bias. Too direct, too raw. Amara continued anyway. "The officer involved, I've learned, mistook me for someone who didn't belong in my own stadium. That misunderstanding and that presumption has a long and painful history in this country. It's a reminder that visibility doesn't equal acceptance, that success doesn't buy safety." A hand shot up from the second row, a journalist from the Herald. "Ms. Lewis, do you believe this was an act of racism?" Dana's head turned sharply toward the reporter, then toward Amara, silently begging restraint. Amara met the journalist's gaze. "I believe it was an act of blindness," she said. "And blindness can be just as destructive as hate when power holds the flashlight." A murmur rippled through the room. Another question, a man from Channel. "And some are saying you're politicizing an honest mistake." Her lips parted, and for a heartbeat her composure cracked. "An honest mistake doesn't come with a hand on a gun." The room went still. Camera zoomed closer. Dana intervened, stepping forward. "Thank you, everyone. Ms. Lewis has time for one more." Amara raised a hand slightly. "No, it's fine." Her tone returned to calm steel. "The truth doesn't need protecting." She looked out again, over the reporters, over the rows of indifferent eyes, and finished. "We can build 1,000 stadiums, 1,000 skyscrapers, but until we build respect into the foundation of every institution, we'll keep standing outside doors we already own." She stepped back from the podium. Flashes erupted. Dana hurried her off stage. The corridor behind the press room felt colder, narrower. Dana's voice followed her. "You went off script. I told the truth. That's not the issue, Amara. The board wanted controlled empathy. You gave them confrontation." Amara stopped walking. "Then maybe they should confront themselves." Jordan lingered near the exit, watching them both. "CNN just clipped your line about a hand on a gun. It's already trending." Dana pinched the bridge of her nose. "Perfect. We've handed them outrage on a platter." "Maybe outrage is overdue," Jordan said quietly. Dana glared at him, then turned back to Amara. "Look, the officers' union is threatening a defamation suit. You'll be painted as hostile, entitled, and you know how this goes." Amara didn't flinch. "Then let them. Truth doesn't break under accusation." Dana exhaled sharply, defeated. "You're not helping yourself." "I'm not here to help myself," Amara said. "I'm here because silence helps them." The hallway lights buzzed faintly overhead. Someone from the media team approached with a tablet. "They've released the officer's statement." Amara took it, scrolling quickly. It was exactly what she expected. Sterile language, shielded by bureaucracy. The officer involved followed standard security protocol. Any physical contact was incidental. No racial motivation was present. "We ask for privacy and respect during this time." Below it, a photograph. Officer Mark Delaney, uniform crisp, smile forced. The headline already sanitized him. "Decorated officer faces backlash over viral misunderstanding." Amara's jaw tightened. "Misunderstanding," she repeated quietly. "That's what they call erasure now." Jordan's voice cut through. "You should go home, get some rest." She nodded absently, still scrolling. Beneath the article, a comment caught her eye. "She's just playing the race card. Probably thought being rich makes her untouchable." Amara turned off the screen. Her reflection stared back from the glass door, composed, powerful, and exhausted. "I'll rest when the story isn't theirs anymore," she murmured. That night, she sat in her office, city lights stretching across the skyline like veins of fire. Jordan was gone. Dana had stopped calling. The building was silent except for the hum of her computer fan. She opened a blank document, typed one line, deleted it. Typed again. Statement from Amara Lewis, CEO of Horizon Development Group. She wrote without hesitation this time. Not a press release. Not a plea, but something clear. The footage does not show a misunderstanding. It shows a system that teaches suspicion before respect. My silence will not reinforce that lesson. She saved it. Closed her laptop. From the window, she could see the stadium in the distance, glowing white under the floodlights. Her name shimmered faintly across the upper tier. Tomorrow, she knew, the city would dissect every syllable she'd spoken. They would argue whether she was brave or reckless, victim or aggressor. But tonight, for the first time since the shove, she wasn't shrinking from the noise. She let it come, because truth, once spoken aloud, has no mute button. The boardroom smelled faintly of disinfectant and expensive fear. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline, the morning light blinding against glass. A sterile beauty Amara once found grounding. Now it felt like exposure. The Horizon Development Group board had gathered, 12 faces around a polished obsidian table, each carrying the same rehearsed neutrality. They greeted her with corporate warmth, restrained smiles, clipped nods, no handshakes. "Let's begin," said Charles Vance, the board chair. His tone held the weight of money disguised as reason. Amara sat opposite him, her posture steady. Jordan stood quietly near the wall, tablet in hand. Vance adjusted his cufflinks before speaking. "Amara, you've become the face of something much larger than this company. We need to manage that." Strategically, her voice was calm. "You mean quietly?" A murmur ran down the table. The head of communications leaned forward. "No one's asking you to be silent. We're asking you to consider the impact of your statements. Investors are nervous. The city council's reviewing contracts for upcoming projects. One wrong sentence could cost us millions." "Millions," she repeated, eyes steady. "What's the cost of dignity?" Vance interjected, smoothing the tension. "We understand your frustration, truly. But our focus must remain on business continuity. This incident is distracting from our mission." Amara's restraint cracked just slightly. "The incident is our mission. We build spaces for people, all people. If the people leading those projects aren't safe in them, what's the foundation worth?" The CFO, a pale man with an empty smile, said lightly, "You're letting emotion cloud your judgment. These things happen. We can't solve racism in a press cycle." Jordan shifted uncomfortably, jaw tight. Amara leaned forward. "I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for accountability." Silence. Then Vance sighed like a parent humoring a child. "We'll release a follow-up statement reinforcing our commitment to inclusion. Diversity remains central to our brand identity." Something like that. Her eyes hardened. "A slogan isn't a spine, Charles." He exhaled through his nose. "You're making this personal." "It is personal," she snapped, then stopped herself, lowering her tone. He looked at me and saw trespass. Not leadership. Not ownership. Just trespass. "You all saw the footage. What's personal about reality?" The youngest board member, Olivia Chen, shifted nervously. She'd been silent until now. "Maybe there's a middle ground," she offered gently. "A joint statement with the police department? Symbol of unity?" Amara stared at her. "Unity without honesty is performance." Vance closed his folder, signaling the meeting's end. "We'll revisit this once emotions have cooled. In the meantime, focus on stabilizing public trust." He stood, dismissing her without words. Amara rose slowly. "Public trust isn't lost," she said. "It's watching to see who flinches first." She walked out. The corridor outside the boardroom was too bright. Jordan caught up, falling into step beside her. "That was brutal," he muttered. "They showed me exactly who they are." He hesitated. "You know they're talking about temporary leave, right? Behind closed doors." "I expected that. They're scared you'll keep speaking." She stopped walking. "Then they should stop giving me reasons to." Jordan studied her, admiration under worry. "You can't fight this alone." "I'm not alone." She opened her phone, showing him the message she'd received an hour earlier, from a young engineer in her firm. "I saw what they did to you. I joined Horizon because of you. Don't let them make you small." Amara's throat tightened. She locked the screen. "That's why I can't stop." That night, the office was nearly empty. Most lights were off except hers. Files and architectural drafts covered her desk, but she couldn't focus on numbers. She reread the letter from the young engineer, the kind of note she used to dream of inspiring. Through the glass wall, she saw reflections of her employees leaving, their eyes cautious, their goodbyes polite but distant. Some looked away too quickly. The silence of self-preservation. Her phone rang again. Dana. Amara let it buzz twice before answering. "I'm not retracting anything," Dana sighed audibly. "It's not about retracting. The officers' union is escalating. They filed an internal complaint alleging defamation and career harm. They're painting you as vindictive." Amara rubbed her temples. "He shoved me on camera." "Yes, and they're reframing it as a security miscommunication amplified by social media hysteria. So I'm hysteria now." "You're a target," Dana corrected quietly. "And targets don't get to choose their headlines." Amara said nothing. "Look," Dana added softly, her PR polish briefly dropping. "You're right about all of it. But power protects itself. Just protect yourself too." The line went dead. Amara turned off the office lights and looked out across the city, a sprawl of indifference glowing under the night sky. The stadium loomed faintly in the distance, a shape she had once loved. Her reflection in the window met her gaze, tired, unyielding. "They built the walls," she whispered. "I just designed them prettier." When she finally left, the lobby security guard, an older black man, nodded respectfully. "We're proud of you, Ms. Lewis, for saying what most can't." Amara smiled faintly, the first real warmth she'd felt all day. "Thank you," he hesitated. "They'll try to bury it, but it's out there now. Can't bury light." She paused at the door, the city's cool air brushing her face. "No," she said quietly. "They can't." She stepped into the night, alone but not unseen. By Monday morning, the backlash had teeth. Every news cycle opened with her name. The officers' union held a press conference at dawn. Crisp uniforms, rehearsed empathy, and words crafted to reverse the story. Officer Delaney acted within department protocol, the union spokesperson declared. He has received death threats, harassment, and unfair treatment in the court of public opinion. Behind him, Delaney stood stiffly, face pale, but eyes defiant. The camera zoomed close enough to catch his smirk when the spokesperson said, "He's a victim too." Amara watched from her office, jaw locked. The TV's sound bled through the glass walls as employees paused in the hall, pretending not to stare. The next headline flashed red. Police union calls out, "Race-baiting CEO." Jordan stormed in, tablet under his arm. "It's coordinated," he said. "Dozens of identical posts from fake accounts. Same hashtags, same timing. They're trying to bury the original video under counter-narratives." Amara muted the screen. "They're not burying anything. They're proving the point." Her phone buzzed again. Sponsors, partners, politicians. The messages came in two tones, polite panic or veiled blame. "We support you, but this is becoming polarizing. Let's find a resolution everyone can agree on. Perhaps a private meeting with the officer for reconciliation optics." She scrolled through each one, expression unreadable. Jordan said quietly, "They want a photo op. Forgiveness sells better than truth." "Forgiveness," she repeated, "is a privilege earned after accountability, not instead of it," he nodded. The mayor requested a meeting. Urgent. Amara's brow lifted slightly. "Good. Let him look me in the eye when he asks me to disappear." The mayor's office was a cathedral of polished stone and false warmth. A bronze seal glimmered behind the desk, haloing the man who sat beneath it. Mayor Whitaker, mid-50s, smile practiced to perfection. "Amara, thank you for coming," he began, extending a hand. "You've had quite a week." She didn't take it. "Let's get to the point." He lowered his arm, masking irritation with a politician's grin. "We're all under public pressure. Emotions are high. The city can't afford division. I'm hoping we can find common ground. Between truth and convenience?" He chuckled as if humoring a difficult child. "Between healing and escalation." Amara sat across from him. "You mean silence and optics?" He leaned forward, dropping the charm. "Look, off the record, you've made your point. Everyone saw what happened. But you're turning a single mistake into a citywide crisis. The police are vital to this community. The economy needs stability. The community needs justice," she countered. He sighed. "Justice is complicated." "No," she said. "It's just inconvenient." A beat of silence hung heavy. He changed tactics. You know, my office approved millions in tax incentives for Horizon. We've always supported your developments. Don't make us regret that goodwill. The threat was velvet soft but clear. Amara's voice didn't rise, didn't waver. Goodwill that disappears when power feels uncomfortable isn't goodwill. It's leash work. The mayor's jaw clenched. Careful, Ms. Lewis, you're not untouchable. Her eyes locked on his. Neither are you. For a moment, only the faint hum of the air conditioner broke the silence. Then she stood, smoothing her jacket. I'll issue my next statement tomorrow. It'll include everything this city needs to hear. Are you threatening to escalate this? I'm promising transparency. She walked out, leaving him staring after her, his smile gone. That night, the union went on the offensive again. Anonymous leaks appeared online. Fabricated records claiming misconduct in one of her past projects. Right-wing talk shows spun conspiracy theories. She'd staged the confrontation for attention, they said. Race profiteer CEO. Corporate activism stunt. Jordan slammed his laptop shut. They're throwing mud just to see what sticks. Amara looked exhausted but composed. They're teaching me how they operate. Her phone buzzed again, a voicemail from an unknown number. She played it on speaker. You think you're better than us, huh? Keep talking. See how fast your company burns, Jordan swore under his breath. You need security. I need exposure, Amara said. Real exposure. Not the clips they manipulate, he frowned. What do you mean? She looked at him, eyes sharp.
Public testimony.
The inquiry. You're serious? Yes. If they want a spectacle, I'll give them one they can't edit. 2 days later, she was summoned to City Hall again. Not by the mayor this time, but the ethics committee conducting a formal inquiry into the incident. The same hallway she'd once walked for business deals now felt like a gauntlet. Outside the chamber, protesters gathered, and some chanting her name. Others holding signs reading, "Support our police and stop dividing us." The city was split open. Inside, cameras rolled. Officials sat in rows like judges behind microphones. Ms. Lewis, one of them began, tone bureaucratic. You've been quite vocal about systemic issues. Do you have evidence beyond your personal experience? Amara's gaze was steady. My existence is evidence, the room murmured. The official cleared his throat. We're not here for speeches. Then perhaps you're not here for truth, she said quietly. After the session, she stepped outside into the chaos of flashbulbs and shouting reporters. A microphone was shoved toward her. Ms. Lewis, are you calling the city racist? She looked directly into the camera. I'm saying the system allowed a man with a badge to decide who belonged in a space I built. You tell me what that is. A wave of noise followed. She turned and walked toward her car, Jordan close behind. Now they'll come harder, he warned. Let them, she said. Pressure exposes cracks. That night she couldn't sleep. The city felt too loud even through her penthouse windows. Helicopters, sirens, the restless hum of collective anger. She stood on her balcony overlooking the skyline. Her reflection flickered faintly in the glass, the image of a woman who'd built empires of steel but was still fighting to be seen as human. Her phone buzzed again. A text. No name, just words. They can't erase the truth if you keep showing it. She didn't recognize the number, but the message steadied her heartbeat. In the distance, the stadium lights flickered, blue, white, then gold. Her colors, her design, Amara whispered to the dark. You tried to humiliate me in public. Now I'll make you face the truth in public. And in that moment she knew there would be no reconciliation, no quiet settlement. Only exposure, the kind that burned through reputations and left only what was real. The headlines turned overnight. Yesterday's sympathy became today's suspicion. Morning news shows ran split-screen debates, one side calling Amara a symbol of progress, the other branding her a divisive opportunist. A clip of her saying it proves visibility played on repeat, reframed as arrogance. Social media buzzed with hashtags that blurred truth into spectacle. Supporters flooded her company's page with solidarity. Others filled her inbox with venom. By 9 a.m., the front desk called her office. Ms. Lewis, there's a protest outside. It's mixed. Some people holding signs for you, some against. Amara barely looked up from her screen. Security protocols? Already in place. But media's everywhere. She closed her laptop slowly. Of course they are. Jordan stepped into her office a moment later, phone in hand. You've seen the statement? What statement? He turned the screen toward her. Horizon's official PR release posted without her approval. The company's logo glared above the words. We reaffirm our respect for law enforcement and believe this incident was a misunderstanding compounded by public tension. Her jaw tightened. They used my name to sanitize a shove. Jordan's voice was low. They're protecting contracts with the city. She stood abruptly, at the expense of truth. They don't care about truth, he said. They care about revenue. Amara's hands trembled once before she steadied them. Draft my resignation letter, Jordan froze. You don't mean that. I do. If they won't stand with me, they don't deserve my leadership. He hesitated, searching her eyes. You walk away, they'll rewrite the story without you. She turned to the window, looking down at the crowd below. Signs waving, voices clashing in the cold morning air. Then I'll write a louder one. By noon, the crowd had doubled. Drone cameras buzzed overhead. Police cordons formed along the street. Reporters shouted her name when she finally stepped outside. Ms. Lewis, are you resigning in protest? She stopped at the top of the steps, wind tugging at her coat. I'm resigning in refusal, she said. Refusal to let fear dictate truth. A man in the crowd yelled, You're making it about race. Amara looked directly at him. It was about race the moment I was shoved for existing in a place I built. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some jeering. Cameras zoomed in, catching every flicker of emotion. Jordan stood nearby, silent, eyes scanning for danger. Hours later, in a small cafe away from downtown, Amara sat opposite Dana. You detonated your own career, Dana said flatly. Amara stirred her tea without replying. You could have waited, played the long game, got your power back quietly. Amara looked up. Quietly is how this keeps happening. Dana sighed, leaning back. You think you can outshout the machine? No, Amara said softly. But I can make the silence uncomfortable. Dana studied her for a moment, then spoke carefully. They've already leaked your resignation email to the press. They're spinning it as a personal decision to refocus on family priorities. Amara's laugh was short and bitter. I don't even have children. They don't need facts, Amara. They just need a narrative that doesn't shake the donors. She stared at her untouched tea. Then let them drink their own lies. Dana leaned forward. Listen, there's something else. Officer Delaney's union just announced a solidarity fundraiser. They're painting him as the victim of online harassment. Amara's jaw set. Of course they are. And, Dana hesitated, one of your old contractors just pulled out of the new development project. Said the public controversy makes you a liability. Amara's voice went cold. Then I'll build without them. Dana's eyes softened, the professional mask slipping. You can't build everything alone. Amara met her gaze. Watch me. That evening, she returned home to find 2 envelopes under her door. The first was a legal notice. The officer's attorney filing for damages over character, defamation. The second was a letter written in uneven handwriting. Ms. Lewis, I was at the protest today. I brought my daughter so she could see you speak. She asked why they were yelling at you. I told her sometimes people fear what they can't own. Thank you for standing up anyway. Amara pressed the paper against her chest. Her hand shook, not from fear this time, but from recognition that her resistance had already multiplied beyond her. The next morning, Jordan arrived with news. You're trending again, but not because of the resignation. She frowned. Then why? He turned the screen toward her. A news alert. City Council launches independent investigation into police misconduct following public pressure. Beneath it, her image, mid-speech, coat billowing against the light. Amara exhaled. They blinked first, Jordan grinned faintly. You cracked the wall, she nodded slowly. Cracks don't fix what's rotten, but they let in light. That night, Amara walked alone through the near-empty stadium. Her footsteps echoed in the dark, a hollow sound against the concrete she'd once celebrated. She stopped at the center of the field, the exact spot where the shove had happened weeks ago. The memory still lived here. The sting, the disbelief, the silence afterward. Now it was only wind and distant traffic. She whispered into the empty air. They thought this place would swallow me. But I was the one who built its bones. Her voice didn't echo. It stayed with her, absorbed into the steel and stone. She turned toward the exit, back straight, unbroken. The war wasn't over. But the ground had shifted, and she was still standing. The city could no longer pretend. The inquiry's findings leaked before dawn, an anonymous source within the Oversight Committee. By sunrise, every network headline was the same. Internal report confirms racial misconduct by Officer Mark Delaney. City administration accused of cover-up. The footage had been authenticated. The emails between the police union and senior city officials were real. The scandal was no longer containable. Amara woke to her phone vibrating nonstop. Reporters, allies, enemies, opportunists. She ignored them all, sitting at the edge of her bed in silence. The sunlight through her curtains cut her face in half, calm on one side, exhaustion on the other. Jordan called. "You're on every channel." "I didn't do anything," she said. "Exactly," he replied. "That's why it's powerful." By mid-morning, the mayor held a press conference. Cameras flashed. Microphones jutted forward like weapons. "The officer involved has been suspended pending termination," the mayor said. "The city regrets the handling of this case and commits to new oversight reforms." It was a performance of contrition, and everyone watching knew it. Amara stood in the back of the room, uninvited but undeniable. When the mayor's gaze caught hers, his practiced expression faltered for half a second. It was enough. Outside, reporters swarmed her again. "Ms. Lewis, what's your reaction?" She paused before answering. "You can't fix a system that rewards blindness. You can only expose how dark it's become." Later that day, her phone buzzed with a message from Dana. "He's requesting a private meeting." The officer, Amara, stared at the screen, unreadable. "Where?" "Neutral ground. Public cafe. He says he just wants 5 minutes." Against her better judgment, she agreed. The cafe was almost empty when she arrived. Delaney sat alone in a corner booth, no uniform, just a plain jacket. He looked smaller without the badge, still tense but stripped of protection. She sat across from him. Neither spoke for a moment. Finally he said, "You ruined my life." Amara's voice was quiet. "You touched mine first," he flinched. "You think I'm racist? I was doing my job. You pushed me after I identified myself. You didn't ask questions. You made a judgment." His hands trembled slightly. "You don't understand what it's like. Every night out there, everyone looking like danger." "You react, you mean you decide," she said, before thinking. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed. "They're throwing me under the bus. The department, the union, everyone. You got what you wanted." Her tone stayed cold. "What I wanted was safety in my own space. What I got was proof of how fragile your badge really is." Delaney's lips pressed into a line. "You'll never know what it's like to have to make those choices." Amara leaned forward. "You're right. I only know what it's like to be one of those choices." He broke eye contact. "They said apologizing would make things worse. But He stopped. His voice cracked. "I didn't think. I didn't see you." She let the silence stretch until it hurt. Then, "You still don't." Amara stood, leaving him with the words hanging between them like smoke. She didn't look back. By evening, the city was burning with opinion. Some celebrated the firing. Others called it political theater. Commentators dissected every aspect of her confrontation. Her tone, her calmness, her lack of forgiveness. Forgiveness. That word had been following her like a ghost. At home, she sat by the window watching storm clouds gather. Her phone buzzed again, this time from Olivia Chen, the youngest board member at Horizon. "They're calling for Vance's resignation." "The board wants you back." As CEO. Amara stared at the message for a long time before typing back, "No, you don't rebuild trust with the same blueprints that failed." She turned her phone face down. The rain began in slow sheets, streaking down the glass. She remembered her mother's voice. "Strength isn't healing. It's surviving long enough to try." Again, she wasn't sure she had another try left in her. The television murmured in the background, news anchors calling it a defining cultural reckoning. They spoke of justice like it was an achievement, not a demand. Then, a clip of the mayor again. He'd announced a new initiative, the Lewis Reform Act, named after her, to audit racial bias in law enforcement contracts. She blinked. No one had asked her permission to use her name. Jordan texted, "They named it after you. You changed everything." She replied, "No. I reminded them who built it." 2 weeks later, She stood outside the stadium once more. The crowds were gone. The scandal had moved on, as scandals always do. But something remained in the air. An awareness. Fragile but real. A small group of workers recognized her as she passed. One of them, the young engineer who had written before and approached nervously. "Ms. Lewis, they're saying the new diversity program started because of you." Amara smiled faintly. "Programs don't change people. People change people." The engineer nodded, eyes bright. "Still, thank you." Amara looked up at the stadium's lights flickering on in the dusk. "Just promise me you'll design something better than what I had to survive." The engineer nodded again. "I will." Amara turned and walked away. She didn't look back this time. The building no longer needed her shadow to stand. That night, a final headline ran across the evening news. Former CEO Amara Lewis declines position amid police scandal. Fallout. Justice isn't ownership. It's memory. The camera showed her walking alone down the street, coat fluttering behind her. No entourage, no title. Just a woman moving forward through the noise. Her name was now law. Her silence, legacy. Winter came early that year. The city's air felt cleaner somehow. Not purer, but emptied, as if something toxic had finally burned itself out. The scandal had faded from the news cycle, but its shadow lingered across every conversation, every boardroom speech about equity and accountability. Amara no longer attended those meetings. She had traded conference rooms for classrooms. The architecture school she once donated to had offered her a visiting lectureship. No press, no fanfare, just a quiet invitation. Teach them what the blueprints never did. Her first day back in a studio, the smell of graphite and dust hit her like memory. She watched the students bent over their models, pencils scratching, ambition humming in the air. One of them, a nervous sophomore, asked, "Is it true you designed the Horizon Stadium?" Amara nodded. "It's true," he hesitated. "What was it like?" She thought for a moment. "Beautiful." Until it wasn't. The class went silent, waiting for her to explain. She let the quiet settle before continuing. "Every structure reflects its creator's blind spots. We design what we believe to be strong, but strength without justice eventually collapses." The words landed heavier than she expected. Later, after class, she found herself staring out the tall studio windows at the city she had once ruled from above. The skyline hadn't changed, but she had. That evening, she walked home through the cold. The streets were half empty, lined with flickering billboards still preaching unity and progress. Her reflection passed through them like a ghost. At a crosswalk, someone called out, "Ms. Lewis." A young black woman approached, mid-20s, shy but determined. "I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say, you changed things for me. I work at city planning now. After what happened, they started rethinking hiring criteria. My boss actually listens when I speak." Amara smiled faintly. "That's how you know you've shaken a foundation, when listening starts costing people comfort." The woman laughed softly. "Still, I just wanted to say thank you." "Don't thank me," Amara said. "Build something that outlives both of us." The light turned green, and they crossed in silence, 2 generations moving in the same direction, 1 step apart. Later that week, Jordan visited her office at the university. He looked different, more at peace, though a little older. "You're hard to reach these days," he said. "That's the point," she replied, smiling. He handed her a folder. "The civil settlement finalized. You could have taken millions." She shook her head. "Money can't fix what people refuse to admit was broken." He hesitated. "The mayor's office also asked if you'd consult on the reform committee." Amara raised an eyebrow. "To be their symbol again?" "To guide it," he said. "They're scared of another headline." She thought for a moment, then sighed. "Maybe fear's the only thing that gets institutions moving." Jordan smiled faintly. "You really are allergic to peace, you know that?" "I'm allergic to unfinished work." They sat in silence for a moment, 2 survivors of the same storm, breathing easier now that the air had cleared. That night, Amara visited the stadium for the last time. No cameras, no reporters, just her and the hum of floodlights. The seats were empty, but the space felt alive. She walked the perimeter slowly, fingertips brushing the steel railings she had once obsessed over in design drafts. Every sound echoed like memory. The click of heels, The voice of the officer, the weight of a single word, trespass. But now, the silence no longer felt hostile. It was acknowledgement. She stood at the center of the field where the grass glistened under the lights. The city skyline loomed beyond the walls, imperfect, persistent. "Look what we built," she whispered. Not as pride, but as challenge. Somewhere inside, something shifted, not closure exactly, but acceptance. Her phone buzzed once. A message from her mother. "I saw they passed your reform bill today. You did it, baby. You made them see," Amara smiled, typing back, "They saw. Now they have to remember." The next morning, she opened her lecture with a simple question. What do you think lasts longer, a building or an idea? A student raised her hand. A building. You can see it, touch it. Amara shook her head. Buildings fall. Ideas rebuild. She looked out at her students. Every face a blueprint of what could be. Design isn't just creation, she said. It's resistance against what tells you you don't belong. The class wrote that down like gospel. But Amara wasn't preaching anymore, she was passing the torch. That evening, as the sun set, she walked along the bridge overlooking the city. Below her, traffic moved like veins of light, pulsing through concrete arteries. She stopped midway, leaning against the railing, breathing in the sharp, cold air. Somewhere in the distance, the stadium lights flickered, the same ones that had framed her humiliation, her fight, her vindication. They were still shining, not for her, not against her, just because she'd refused to let them go out. Amara smiled faintly, the wind catching the edge of her coat. For the first time in years, the silence around her wasn't empty. It was earned. She whispered to the city, almost tenderly, "See me now, or don't. I'm still here." And as night settled, the skyline glowed back, indifferent, enduring, alive. The light stayed,